Anyway, I was gonna say, hey, I finished Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh, what'd you think of it?
I loved that. I really liked that. That was my kind of movie. I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Nice.
It was eccentric in every way, and just gonzo, and I really enjoyed it. But I agree with your review of it.
Here's my only real problem is the music falls short. I just wish the music was better.
The music is too groovy for its own good.
It's very 70s musical.
But it's not like it didn't work. It's like.
But if it had, if imagine what could have been.
Yeah, if the music was killer.
Perfect,
yeah, exactly. It suited the thing, but whatever. What was the real shame? A lot of people out there, check out. Shout Factory just put it out on Blu-ray. Phantom of the Paradise. What was the real shame? I knew about this from you. That in the movie, the main dude, the main musician in the movie is named Swan.
Yeah.
And his empire was going to be called Swan Song. And everything in the movie's got the Swan Song logo on it. It's like the guy owns the fucking world.
Yeah.
And then just as they were putting the movie out, they got a thing from one of the guys from Led Zeppelin. I just started Swan Song Records. So that better not be in your movie. I'll block your movie from coming out. It was a big lawsuit or whatever. Anyway,
they have to change it.
They had to change it and take it out. Now you told me there were a couple parts where they had to censor it out. Like they had to put
digitally superimpose.
They made it Death Records instead and put all these logos. And they didn't have computers back then, so it is like they physically cut a square out of the film and put a different logo. And it is so shaking funny. The whole time they're talking.
So gross.
Yeah, Derek. There's a thing on the Blu-ray that is a step-by-step. Here is everything they cut out or replaced to change out that logo.
Wow.
And it sucks because you have no idea. If you haven't seen that, you have no idea how many awesome shots were in that movie that had to be cut up or they had to zoom it in and crop it to one part. There's when he enters the record, the building to see Swan, it's like a long one-take continuous shot as he goes up a spiral hallway to the desk of whatever. In the movie, it is, he walks in the hallway, cut to him going to the desk, cut to the woman looking at him.
That sucks.
They had to cut around the use of the logo.
That really ruins a movie.
Yeah, and when you see it, it's like there were so many great shots in this movie that were massacred. And there's an interview with Brian De Palma where he talks about, he's like, yeah, I was really proud of this movie until we were hit by 20 lawsuits just as it was coming out.
Fuck.
It was that, and then there was another lawsuit too. There was whoever owns Phantom of the Opera. was just like, what the fuck is this?
Okay.
So that was another thing.
Well, it does take off.
Yeah.
I mean, rips that off.
So there was a whole bunch of stuff, and he's like, and then at that point, it didn't matter.
And looking back on that, it didn't confuse any brands. No one's getting Led Zeppelin confused with a film.
But unfortunately, that film kind of tanked when it came out.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that matters.
I've only seen resurgence about it now within this last year.
What's funny, I found out about that movie because I was on a big record vinyl kick, and I was at a thrift store just going through stuff, and I found that vinyl record, the soundtrack, and the cover looked so cool.
Yeah.
Because it has the Phantom on one side, and it's half of his head, and then Swan, half of his head coming out the other side, and a big murderous knife in the middle of it. And I was like, what is this? And I pulled it out, and there was a newspaper clipping in there about a screening of the movie in San Diego from the 70s.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, and that was so cool to me. I was like, I'm going to buy this, and I listened to it, and I was like, this is okay, but I'll check out the movie. I looked up the record, found out it was a big influence on Daft Punk, and that's how I was like, I better check this movie out. That's how I found out about it.
They talked about that on the Blu-ray, too, about how there were two cities that it did phenomenally well. I think one was L.A. It did great in L.A.
Yeah. It's really big in Canada.
The rest of the U.S.
So I've heard.
And Paris. It killed in France.
and Monte Cristo.
Exactly. And so when Paul Williams is talking about that, he's like, Daft Punk, the guys in Daft Punk said they saw it 19 times when it came out. They said every day after school they would just go watch that movie and see it. And he's like, once I heard the big the cities that it had blown up at, maybe one wasn't L.A. It might have been New Mexico or something. It was Albuquerque or something. It was some random city, so it might not have been L.A. But Paul Williams was saying, when I found out what they were, it made sense because the two people that I had heard from that was an inspiration for were Daft Punk. I guess it's three people then. Daft Punk and wherever Guillermo del Toro lived for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Because he heard a bunch of stuff from Guillermo del Toro about how that was an inspiration to him, which makes sense when you see some of the effects in his movies, like with the same kind of mouth as the Phantom and stuff like that. I don't know.
As stupid as this is, one of my favorite things are the shots of the Phantom running through the hallway.
Yeah.
And his cape. It's just his cape, like, flowing behind him, but he looks like such a specter in those shots.
That's cool.
More than anything else, I distinctly remember those.
Costume and lighting,
from the movie. Him running around with that fucking cape.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. So anyway, that's all. Check out that movie.
And there is a scene where the Phantom has 2 guns, and he's, like, surfing on the back of a horse, like,
not even holding on.
Paul Williams is fucked. There's nothing he can do to stop him.
That's it.
Psych, that doesn't
Paul
happen.
Williams.